Hello, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here for another episode of Knowledge or Nonsense. And I am your host, Shamir CC Curry. It felt so good to say that for the first time, you guys. This is my first episode. We have a great show today, and we are going to be here with one of my favorite SPD superheroes, Monique Jokes. Yes, I can't wait. And we are going to talk about building cross-functional collaboration. I want to give you a little bit of background into how I met Monique. And so about 9 years ago, we were both managers at a facility, and we were in a meeting, and the topic of discussion was something that I just kind of felt like was going to cross the line a little bit, and something that I felt like diversity, equity, inclusion, et cetera, those kind of things that matter. And so I'm going to bat and I'm like, no, 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 no. And finally I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And in that moment, she backed me and she stood up for me. And I was like, man, that's a good person right there. So ever since then, I said, I like her. That's my girl, right? Before we get into the session, I want you guys to go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, let us know you're in the house. We love to see it. And I am going to give you guys a moment to go ahead and do that, show up for us so we can shout you out. We're going to take a quick break, redo the intro, and we'll be right back with Monique.
I am so good. I love that intro music. I love it. It kind of makes me want to do the dance like the J Hud tunnel, the tunnel that you go down before you come on the show. I love
it. Yes. Look, you guys, for those who are new to the show or may not know, Monique has been in the industry for about 34 years, 17 in sterile processing. And she has just been everything from a processor to a manager to a director. She's our current immediate past president for HSPA, a subject matter expert, an advocate. I mean, this lady is a SPD superhero, you guys. Right? Monique, do you have anything that I've missed, honey?
No, listen, I am so proud of this moment right now, Shamir, for you. Because I've been a part of a little bit of your journey. And so I want this for you so much. I remember years ago when you were going to, I think it was maybe your first national sterile processing conference. And I presented at that conference. And I remember sitting next to you and you saying, I am going to do that. I am going to do that. And I said, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are going to do this. Yes. And so right now in this moment, I feel like you have finally hit your stage. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. And I can say that with all confidence because I've been on this journey for a long time. And I see people rise. I see people fall. I see their beginning. I see potential. I see doom and I see excitement. And for you, I see nothing but this is going to be great.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I made it. I did, right?
Yes.
Oh
yes.
My goodness.
Yes.
So look, let's talk a little bit about building cross-functional relationships, right?
Yes.
One thing you hear a lot about now is breaking down silos. Yes. And it seems to be, you hear it more, especially with the higher up SPD for professionals are going. So you hear a lot more directors and executive leadership in SPD. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit, or do you have any tips for us on how to break down those silos?
So when you told me cross-functional, tell me again, sorry.
That's okay.
Building cross-functional relationships. When I first heard that, the number one thing that hit me in my gut was humility. You can't be a part of a cross-functioning anything if you're not willing to humble yourself and absorb from the other.
That part.
Yes.
That part. Communication is a two-way street.
Yes. And you are not the know all, go all, do all. Right?
Right.
You have to embrace the different side of work, the different side of why, the different side of what are we doing, right? Too many times leaders, there's a thin line, I like to say, when you enter in leadership, and you could speak to this as well, there's a thin line between being good and being arrogant. Very fine line. Very fine line.
Look, we are in an era that I feel like because we have more directors and executive leadership, we are getting more seats at the table.
Yes.
Right. And so in that, we have to make sure that when we come to the table, that we participate, that we show up at the table, so that when they're building these multidisciplinary groups, that they're remembering how important we are and including us in that moment. Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think that the downfall the struggle, because it's not our downfall, but it's our opportunity. We have a seat at the table, and it's been about 10 years now where you have watched, from 10 years to now, you have watched the elevation of sterile processing leaders go from just supervisors reporting to an OR manager to you're now being the manager of your own department with a director who is the director of sterile processing, right?
Yes.
So we are just now, within these 10 years, have a voice. We have a seat at the table, but we haven't learned how to play well with others.
Oh, and that is huge.
Yeah. We want to dictate because nobody's ever heard us.
That part. Oh my gosh. So let me say, I am in just now for the first time a situation where my director is SPD, where I'm not reporting, like you said, to someone who is of the OR.
Yes.
And I noticed there is such a huge difference in the work that you've done, the communication that you have, the strategies, the layouts, the success of the department when you have someone who actually is SPD.
Who gets it, who understands, who could say, yes, this is the right way to go. This is the right direction. Who's not going to shoot you down at the very first point.
Yes, it's that part. And when you talk about playing well with others, I think that was great, because I feel like SPD spends so much time trying to be defensive. Yes. Right? We're always in the defensive because everything is SPD did it now. We did it. Even when we haven't done it.
Yes.
We haven't done it. We've done it. And a lot of times we get into situations where we take ownership just to be pleasing, just to calm the fire, even when we haven't done it. And so then we don't get a chance to be in spaces where we can be proactive and learn not to be so defensive. So sometimes it can be a little hard for us, right, not to play well with others. That part.
Yes. It's important, I think, that we recognize and are self-aware of our defensiveness, because for years, and it's only been about 10 years, that we've had this opportunity where our leaders are now, the leaders of the leaders in sterile processing are now extremely knowledgeable and well-versed in sterile processing. So now we don't have to fight. So when do you stop fighting and start communicating? Because you can't get into a cross-functional relationship or a collaborative relationship with others, because they're more than just our leadership within sterile processing that we have to work with. We have to work with infection control. We have to work with facilities. We have to work with IT. We have to work with all of these others. And if you're a leader, you're going to work with other leaders.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So when do we do a self-check and stop where we are to make sure that we are heard at the table?
Yes. You know what? One thing that for myself, is I'm always very self-reflective. And so if I walk away from a situation and it wasn't necessarily the outcome that I had hoped for, or I just feel like maybe something was a little off with someone else's, vibe or energy, etc., I reflect on, well, how could have made that better, right? Yes. Because sometimes it's not always about how other people present. Sometimes it's about how you perceive.
Yes.
Because perception is reality.
Yeah.
And so when you walk in and you already know everything's going to be my fault.
Yes.
And then you get in and the first little thing that maybe seems like a finger point, and now we're all off the rails.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Right. So you have to internalize what is going on there. But I think that if leaders start to just I think preparing is one of the things that I tell people all the time before we're going into these meetings and getting these teams together. Evaluate who needs to be there. Look at the entire picture, right? Who all needs to be at this table so that you can progress in a way that is conducive.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
So I'll give you guys an example. I was working in an institution and we had an issue in a department. And everybody was doing their own little thing to resolve the issue. And nobody was communicating. And so I reached out to my IP. I said, wait a minute. Can we just stop? Can we just pause for a second? Can we just have a meeting to get everyone involved at the table?
Yes.
And then we can talk about what this looks like moving forward.
Yes.
So I think, with leaders, we can pause.
Yes.
Okay, can we just get everybody involved?
Yeah. And you know what, we always talk about leaders, but this works within a department of its own, right? So within a department, not even speaking about leadership, when you develop people to think cross-functioning, right? And having these relationships, you also talking about the different strengths that other people have that you don't have, but you work in the same environment, helping people to recognize their strength, right? And not necessarily focus on their deficit. But when you highlight individuals' strength and you allow them to focus in that strength, but to understand and recognize someone else's strength that's not like yours is going to benefit you. It's going to benefit you. Now you have a true, healthy, cross-functional relationship where I can do this, you can do that, and we can build some success here because I am not intimidated by what I don't possess.
That part. Look, Monique, before we go any further, I want to go ahead and take a short break, but that was absolutely great information. I want to allow people some time to let that set in for a little bit.
Yes.
Can we take a break? Hello, guys.
Hello.
Welcome back. We are with Monique Jelks, and we are talking about building cross-functional relationships. One of the things that I do want to touch on a little bit is trust and leadership, because I feel like that ties into being able to build those multidisciplinary teams, and just kind of understanding that we all work for the same company, right? And so we should all have the same common goal. Can you share maybe some insight on how to build that trust among teams from different environments?
Yeah.
Right. That is something that I feel like when you are coming into one of those multidisciplinary teams, that when you understand how to play well with others, you open a space for safe communication. Right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so everybody is bringing ideas and everybody is bringing something back to the table.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's well stated. I think we ended on a great note. Being self-aware is the key, but sometimes when you are the leader, and you don't have to be an official leader in the department, you can be an unofficial leader in the department. People they don't pay attention to this because they're always focused on the dollar, when the power is the person, the person who holds the most power in a department is the one who's not officially the leader. It is the person who has the most influence over everybody in the department. Whether that influence is good influence and you got a toxic department, because that's still influence, or whether you have a thriving department because you have a person in that department who is the motivator, who is the person that's going to corral people to get things done, right? The person that is most missed when they go on vacation. Okay. So the person who holds the most power in the department is the person who has the most influence. So when you can tap into who's influential in the department, you can really guide your department into all kind of success. And you can have these collaborative relationships a little bit more easy. I think a lot of leaders miss the point that they think that they're in charge and they're all knowing and all seeing, but there's a subculture that exists under the leader's nose that they have nothing. There's pregnancies happen, marriages getting ready to go down, people dating people, and you have no idea, and you're the leader because there's a subculture of people that keep things from you. Whether you're a good leader or not, this subculture just exists. Yeah. So tapping into who's the real leader is who has the most influence to create collaborative relationships.
And those people, like you said, they matter. And I'm so glad that was look, guys, put that nugget in your back pocket because that was a gem. There are some real decision makers in our departments who don't necessarily fall under the category as leaders. Yes. And they have the ability, like you said, to determine what our work environment looks like. It's just because they have so much buy-in from the staff, whether it's negative or positive, they just have so much buy-in.
Just like we got to get rid of negative leaders that are ineffective, we got to get rid of the toxic people in the department who create this mess. So it works both ways. Yeah.
Yes, that's where we come into coach up or coach out. But that's another
Yes, coach up or coach out. I like it.
Oh, yes.
I have this saying that I say, improve or get removed.
Or that, improve
or get removed.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. I do want to talk just a little bit about when you are encountering those silos, like, coming, because sometimes we don't all come into a relationship at a new facility where everything is perfect and communication is great. And, um, sometimes we come into a situation where things are already siloed,
Yes.
right? I remember there was a time when, during my orientation phase at a new facility, the very
Mhm.
last question was, do you have any concerns? And every single time I met, my every 3 to 4 weeks, I say, yes, communication.
Mhm.
Yes, communication is chaotic. Yes, communication is poor. And every single time, let's say if that was question number 10, we got to number 9 and they said, okay, Shamir, see you later. That was awesome. You're doing a great job.
Like, it's like,
Right over the top, we're gonna totally disregard it.
mhm.
And sometimes it's because we already know, but we haven't put in the work
Yes.
to try to fix or create or even just make the situation a little bit better.
Yes.
Do you have any tips for those people who may be in those situations where the silos are already there,
Yeah.
right? The communication is already on its last leg. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But maybe they want some tips on how can we rebuild that. So how can I start breaking down some of those silos to build a better team?
So it's a little bit at a time. You're not going to change anything quickly, right?
Mhm.
And it takes consistent doing it right. Consistently, consistently, consistently meeting, right? Meeting the demand for what needs to happen. Consistent. But you can't have a moment of inconsistency. So if you're new in a department and there are silos and you desire better communication, you have to be the representation of what you want it to be, because people will treat you the way you are being the way you are injecting yourself into an environment. They will learn how you are and they will adjust and treat you that way. But if you are inconsistent, you're saying that you want something, but you are inconsistent, then why should we change? You're no better than what we are, right?
Mhm.
So you have to remain very consistent when you see it. This needs to change. This needs to be that way. And when people see you coming, they're going to give you the communication, the information, because they know you want it, because you're going to deliver it.
Yes.
Consistency. It has to be consistent, because you're not going to change anything being inconsistent. We tend to get on people's nerves when we want change, when we want to see things improve.
Mm-hmm.
People will only improve because guess what? You're irritating them. And it's okay to irritate people if it's going to make it better, because what? Nobody likes improvement. People say they want improvement.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really want it. You know why? Because to improve means to change the way you are behaving or to change what you're doing. So guess what? You're going to have to prepare yourself not to be liked. You want to break down silos in a new place, whether you're a leader or a brand new frontline tech, you're going to have to be prepared for people not to like you at first. Period.
It's
Now let's talk about getting over that part.
Tell us, how do you get over it?
You got to be confident, secure with what you're bringing to the table, whether it's the leadership table or the work table.
Yes.
Show up, do your job. You know what? If you're constantly getting on people's nerves, but you showing up, working, doing above, sometimes it don't even take doing above, just consistently doing your job. How about that? Consistently doing your job, not calling off, showing up on time. Mm-hmm. Carrying out your tasks from beginning to end. And when you don't have any more to do in your task, jumping over to the next area, helping someone else out. Okay, it's hard to ignore someone like that, even though they might get on your nerves about, I didn't receive any communication.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I want to go back to consistency, because I really want that word to resonate. Over my years, consistency has been the thing. And so regardless of the situation, whether with my peers, my staff, with surgeons, you have no idea your oh my goodness, I can't think of the word. I want to say persona, but the way that people think of you is not just limited to your department.
Right.
Right? When people understand that if I reach out to you, you're going to follow up with me. You're not
Yes.
going to just leave me hanging. You're going to come back with me with valuable information.
Yes.
Even when concerns come, they're still going to understand that they can trust in you to correct because you're consistent in the information that you're giving. You're consistent in that follow-up.
Yes.
So I just want people to let that resonate for a minute. Consistency, whether it's communication, work ethic, you know, it matters.
Consistency builds credibility.
That's what it is.
Yes.
That's what it is I'm looking for.
Yeah. When you're consistent, you're credible. Whether you're consistent being bad or whether you're consistent being good, we can count on you for this thing. Yes. Yeah.
But don't let me count on you for the bad though.
Yeah.
Don't let me say, no, such and such won't be in today. I know because they call in every day.
Yes. Right. Consistent.
Yeah. Don't let me say that. Be the person.
Credibility is everything. Credibility will open doors for you.
Yes.
Credibility will open doors for you. When we talk about building cross-functional collaboration, it's people don't want to collaborate if you don't have any credibility. Collaboration is done best when people can trust you. Yes. When people can trust that you're going to be a part of what is being created in this collaborative work, right? Yes. That credibility is everything. So yes. Consistency, credibility, collaboration.
You are dropping gems today. Yeah. Gems. Let me tell you guys, these are gems. If you know, you know. Oh my goodness. So you said credibility and building credibility. For those new processors, right? Because I think that's something that I know we're talking about cross-functional teams and collaborations, but I want to just take a step because we have people who come here who are new in the industry and they're trying to work their way up the ladders, et cetera. So I want to focus a little bit on building credibility and just kind of, if you have any tools, right? Because sometimes, I'll be honest, when I started in this field, I didn't have the professionalism right, that I have today.
Yeah, I think many of us have taken that journey. I have taken that journey also. It just depends on your background, where you come from, where you work. If you come from a toxic work environment in a toxic city, in a toxic state, guess what? That residue is on you. Right? And once you recognize it, here's the beautiful thing. Once you recognize, this is why you talked about self-reflection in the beginning. This is why self-reflection is so good, because self-reflection helps you build your own credibility. Because with self-reflection, let me tell you what'll catapult an individual to credibility. And this is for technicians who are working. Leaders, if you don't have this already, you're ineffective in your leadership. A self-reflective person can apologize, can go level set, go reset, go make it right, whatever was wrong, start all over again, right? The biggest thing is to level set any bad energy that you have produced. So when you have produced bad energy with a group, with an individual, cause some ruckus with a situation, right? When you can go back to said individuals who you have maybe rubbed the wrong way and say, listen, I need to apologize to you. I am so sorry. Let them know I had a deep self-reflection yesterday and I'm not proud of myself. Guess what? Who's going to argue with that? And only the foolish is going to not receive you well. Only the foolish, because you can't be worried. You need to free yourself so that you can move on. Some people will receive you, others won't. the ones who won't receive you, that's their issue, no longer your issue.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those who have received you, you have just built a brick of credibility with them. Because now you talk about communication, you're someone that they title as reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're reasonable. You can't be in a cross-functional collaboration and not be reasonable, rational, willing to listen. If you can't listen to your own self, reflect, how you gonna listen to somebody else?
That part.
You don't listen to yourself, so you ain't gonna listen to nobody else.
That part. This is such a good conversation.
Ooh, this is good.
I'm so happy, honey, that this first episode is with you, because it's everything that I needed. I didn't even know I needed it.
Yes.
Right? Oh my goodness. Let's see. Building cross-functional collaboration. So we are going to get into just a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
If we can do a short break, I'll have us come out, and then we'll be back with you in a minute.
Awesome.
All right.
Do you want greater success and satisfaction in your career? Do you have ideas that you desire to contribute? Then it's time to invest in you. Imagine you building and managing a high-performance team, managing conflict and difficult conversations, understanding financial management and budgeting, creating and implementing strategic plans, building and maintaining relationships with stakeholders. Our programs are designed and tailored for individuals seeking to grow and succeed in their leadership roles. UCDI's Change the Narrative Progressive Leadership is a mid-level leadership program designed specifically to develop the skills and knowledge necessary to take on greater leadership responsibilities in a sustainably scalable format. So, if you're tired of seeing ineffective processes, unhealthy work distribution, lack of follow-through and accountability, and you want to be an answer for yourself and for your team, then this is the program for you. Contact UCDI Leadership at info@ucdileadership.com or text LEADERSHIP to 214-717-5921. The future depends on many things, but mostly it depends on you.
Hello. We are back. This has been an awesome episode.
Yes.
I do want to touch a little bit on just some tools that maybe we can use to track our progress when we are looking at those multidisciplinary teams and building those cross-functional collaborations. Do you have any tools that you've used in your past to say, hey, we'll go this way in tracking our progress so that we can keep up and be consistent?
You know, I'm a big believer in data, but one tool that I think has worked for me is journaling. Is journaling, because journaling can be personal, but it also can be good business, you know, because we often forget the good that we have done when something bad happens, right?
Yes.
So when you journal your days, right? Journal your weeks. And if you're not a journaler, maybe you pick a day in the week where you just say, I'm going to journal every Tuesday and be reflective for what has happened since the last Tuesday. But I think when great things happen and then when low moments happen, when you journal these things, it helps you to self-reflect. So we talk about a tool that people need. Self-reflection is a great tool because it brings you to self-awareness, right? Self-awareness helps you to be able to listen to yourself, help yourself, right? And then work well with others because you know who you are, right? You can only work well when you know how you are, what makes you mad, what makes you happy, because you know how to adjust yourself, you know how to help yourself, right? You know how to encourage yourself. And so I think journaling is a big deal. When you're a leader, journal different things that happens within your departments. When you're bringing two teams together to work, when you're creating cross-functional teams. And when we think about sterile processing, you think about a cross-functional team. Let me give you an example. If you're the leader of sterile processing and you have multiple sites of sterile processing, right? These sites don't work the same way. They're different. Even the names of their trays are not the same at every facility. But now you want to introduce some people over to one facility and some over to another, or you want to create a whole entire float pool within your organization. Now you create a team of 5 and they just float wherever they're needed. Guess what? That's building a cross-functional team, even though it's the same business, right? You're putting people in an environment that is not common to theirs, doing a task that is not common to theirs. So you might have one facility where you need flexible endoscope reprocessing. You got to cross-train an individual to do this from another facility because they don't do it. Okay. What tools do you need? Okay, we already have the basic knowledge of how to do sterile processing. This is more about people management and keeping the level of positive engagement alive. Okay, because you can teach people to do a task. That's not what breaks us. What breaks us is our ability to not be respectful toward each other. The ability is not that we respect each other's work or work ethic. So how do you build that? Is that you share knowledge and resources, but you journal. And you journal, if you're the leader, you journal the things that are going well, not going well. You take that, internalize it. How do I fix it? Then you go about preparing ways to fix it. And only you can determine on how to fix those things. When it comes down to the frontline people that you are putting in other environments to build a cross-functional collaborative relationship, then those tools are about communication and having group meetings, group discussions. How are things going? Tell me what your thoughts are. What do we need to do different? So don't create a cross-functional team to build and just say, okay, we're doing this. Right. You're going to lose it because you didn't get buy-in in the first place, right? So in order to create success in that environment, you have to have what? Consistency. In communicating, making sure people are okay with doing what they're doing, right? Remember, sometimes people don't like change. Some people are for it, but the constant consistency of making sure that they're educated, knowing how to do the work. So when people know how to do the work, that's over. When you can teach them, but when it's the personality and the relationship, that's what you want to hone in on. People are not innately going to get along. Some people work with people who don't get along. They don't work. You have to teach people how to function with personalities that don't match theirs, right?
Absolutely. You said something that I thought was really important, so I want to go back to that for a minute. And you said journal the positive. And I think sometimes we forget on any level, and it doesn't even necessarily isn't specific to the work environment. Sometimes we just forget the people to celebrate our wins. No matter how small, celebrate those moments. So don't just journal them, share them. Share them with your team, share them with that collaborative team and say, hey, look, guys, we did really well in these areas. And so I want to offer some kudos for that. Yeah. So now we need to focus on these concerns that we had, right? So share that because one thing that I'm very big on is people don't always want to hear the negative.
Yes.
And so every conversation that you have with someone can't just be about the negative.
Come on.
You have to include some of those wins. Otherwise, it just deteriorates the person's perspective and how you communicate.
I think it's like this. It's like a bank account. Okay. So if you're a leader and you journal daily, weekly, you have to put in there what people did that was good, not as a whole, individuals, because I got to sneeze. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Because this is how the bank account works. At random, when you when you journal at random and something happened really well, somebody stayed late, they did something great, or you had a record number of trays that needed to get built, loaner trays, maybe you had an excess of 50, somebody stayed late, knocked them all out. Guess what? You have to, not just that day, tell that person thank you. You have to let a couple days go by. So that person knows that you are really appreciative, because in the moment, it's in the moment. But when you circle back around, it's like putting money in the bank. And you say, let me tell you, the other day, I truly appreciate, I know I told you the other day, but I'm telling you again, thank you, right? Because people work hard. They're not the leader. They didn't have to do it. So you really need to show a gratitude and appreciation. When you do that, when you do that, it's money in the bank. And when you do it often to random people, it's easier when you have to have the hard conversation. It's easier when you have to say, listen, this happened the other day, and I need this not to happen again. You're a great technician. You've already shown that. You've already proven this, but this is an area that we need to fix.
Right.
It's easier received from you. Because you're taking out a deposit. I mean, you're taking out a withdrawal that's less than the deposit you've made.
I love it. I love it. And there's another gem.
Yeah. Don't take out cash that you ain't put in. You will deplete and break the bank.
Yes. And that goes for anything, guys, whether it's your teams, whether it's your personal life, co-workers, department, etc. That works everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This was absolutely, like I said, an awesome episode. And I'm so happy that this was my first episode to do it with someone who I've known for so long in this industry. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show today to talk about this. I'm so happy.
This is so good. This was really good conversation. It's really great. And I feel so good. I am so excited for you and your journey. As I'm coming down my professional ladder of figuring out my next steps, my next life, all I can say is, in 5 years, I'm going to be 60 years old. What do I want to be doing? What it's time for me to pivot in my life. It's time for me to do something different. And so, when I figure it out, I'll share it with you. Maybe I'll share it with the world as well.
Okay. I was gonna say, tell me what's going.
I don't know.
Maybe we can get another show and we'll talk about it,
absolutely. Right? Talk about transition. Yeah.
There we go.
I had a conversation with Sharon Combs about transition that was so good. Oh my gosh, that was so good. Yeah. So
a nice person.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Before I want to go, actually, I am going to ask Sharon, guys, who's in our background, if she has the ability to pull up the question from our last episode. If not, that's okay. We had someone on there, and I thought you would be a great person to ask this question to. But her question was, I'm going to try to remember. She is looking to get into leadership and wanted to know some steps from a processor or some tips of what that would look like. And I thought you would be a great person to give advice for someone to transition, because since I've known you, I have always seen you take people under your wing.
Yeah.
And be a mentor to them and and serve as a resource. And so I said, Monique is a great person to have answered this question. So before we go, do you have any tips for her?
I would say, ask yourself why. Why do you want to lead? Mm-hmm. And why should people follow you?
I love it.
People always say they want to get into leadership. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you want to be a leader? What is it about you that would make me want to follow you?
Right.
Why do I want to follow you? Ask yourself that question. And if you can't ask that question about how you're going to serve other people, how you're going to support other people, how you're going to help, then leadership isn't for you. A lot of people want to get into leadership, but they have a false sense of what leadership is all about. They have a false sense of what it's all about. It is not about power. It's not about control. It is about the people who are following you.
Yes.
So why do you want to lead? And I say, when you can answer that question genuinely to your core, clear, and it is about the people and the improvements that you would like to make, because if you're leading, there's nothing in front of you. You're the leader. There's a whole lot following you. What are you doing? So why? Where are you leading me?
Mm-hmm.
Are you leading me to be my best self, or are you leading you to climb your own professional ladder? You know, a lot of people say, you want to be the leader. Yeah, I want to make that money.
Right.
That money ain't everything.
Ooh. Oh my God. Don't take me down that road.
Yeah.
I was
Peace.
yeah. Oh gosh.
Peace is everything.
I was talking to Sharon the other day, and I told her, I said, I'm 40 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me until I was 39 to realize that money is not everything.
It's not.
There's something that is more important than money. It is peace.
Peace.
Right? Your mental state. It is your work-life balance. It is whether or not you have time to spend with your family. It is whether you have time for yourself.
Yes.
There are things that are way more important than chasing the money. But sometimes when you're young in your career, any career field, you are very hungry. And so when you chase, right? Especially if you come from situations where you may not have had.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So you may be in the have-nots. And so you're hungry and you're chasing, you think that that's important.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You said something, I want to go back before I forget. Oh my gosh, because it sparked something in me. When I first got into leadership, I wanted to be a leader. I said, you know what? I want to be the manager. But the thing was, I wanted to be the manager because I wanted to make the decisions, because I didn't feel like the person who was making the decisions were making good decisions for the department.
Yes.
And what I realized is it's about serving.
Yes.
Servant leadership.
Come on.
Is really what it's about.
Yes.
And it took me a little bit of time to learn that.
Yes. Because you can dictate all day long. And if you're not listening to the people who you're dictating to, you won't have any people to dictate to.
Yes.
And then you won't be the leader.
There you go. Because you won't be able to get that following. You won't have that buy-in if all you are is a dictator, and nobody can come to you, and nobody can give you feedback, and nobody is safe to speak with you about anything, and they can't weigh in on conflicts and decisions and etc.
Yes.
Won't come to you, and you will be in the darkest hole.
Come on. Yes.
As a leader, right?
Yes.
I learned that the best way to do it is to be inclusive.
Yes.
To be a servant.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Putting my team in on everything. We're talking about the processes. I'm telling you what's coming up ahead of time before you know. I'm asking you, what's your opinion about this?
Yes.
And that's part of, like you said, being collaborative within your own department.
Yeah.
I love it.
This is good.
Right? This is good. We are, let's see, just a little bit at our time. So what I'm going to do is, before we go, I'm going to ask you guys, please leave some comments for us. If you have questions, Monique, do you have any contact information for anybody who still want to do speaking, etc.? Tell us where you are.
Absolutely. I'm at sterilprocessingservice@gmail.com. sterilprocessingservice@gmail.com.
So look, reach out to her, guys. She is in her moment of transition. So out there, speaking, etc., questions.
Yes.
She's a really great mentor. I've watched her do this over the years, and every time I hear nothing but great things I met someone last year at the conference who you were mentoring, and she was just like, I love Monique. I don't remember the young lady's name, but she was really awesome and she was really great.
Yes.
I do want to take a moment to do some reflection. Monique, I don't know if you have heard about the Be the Change initiative we are doing in my chapter. And so I have been voted president for my local chapter. And
I heard that. Yes, 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 yes.
And we are doing an initiative for Be the Change. And so I would like to challenge you to be the change that you would like to see. And what we talk about that is just stepping up and helping other people in our community. Last week we talked about the change, and I heard something from Martin Luther King III, and what he said was, it's always a right time to do the right thing.
Yes.
And so before we leave, I wanted to let that sit with the people. Let me say it again. It is always the right time to do the right thing.
Yes.
And that applies everywhere.
Yes, it does. I like that.
Absolutely. And I feel like in sterile processing, I always tell people, do the right thing every time.
Every time.
You don't have an issue. And so when he said that, I said, and there is my tie to sterile processing.
Yes.
Right? Do the right thing every single time. And you
absolutely.
Have an issue.
Absolutely.
In this field.
Absolutely. I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
As we finish another week, resonate with that. Until next time, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate everyone who showed up for us today, who showed out for us today, everybody in the comments, everybody who showed up for me and Monique. I appreciate you guys. I would like for you to go ahead, if you haven't already, and like and subscribe to the channel. Share this, people, so that we can continue to move forward in our season and sharing this information. So see you guys Tuesday at the same time, same place.
Yes. What day is that?